morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. You would have read in the news or heard or seen, as the case may be, that the Lagos Okada and Tricycles restriction takes off on Saturday, the 1st of February, as has been told. There's a background to it. It's actually, it might affect some Lagosians, but it's been done. In Abuja, you can't just be riding all these vehicles that I'm talking about anyhow in the city. In Kano, they're also being restricted, if not banned. In Kaduna, ditto. In Edo, ditto. So what's going on? Are all these people just, funneling into Lagos? I don't know, but certainly the guys at Lagos State government, they know because they've been studying the issue and they've come out. You probably have read that we're told that there have been, between 2016 and now, 10,000, no less, accidents recorded in general hospitals. And that number does not include other hospitals or unreported cases. And then, of course, there's the other thing that's always been a subject of conversation about whether or not these operators, whether they aid criminals. Indeed, the statement that came out, government thought that such was the case, that they actually aid getaways from scenes of crime and that kind of a thing. You know them, people snatching bags and whizzing off on an Okada, which is a motorcycle, just in case there's any, foreigner who is visiting or passing through and is hearing about us referring to Okada. Those are, the motorcycles, and the Keke napep, the tricycles. Put. As referred to in other jurisdictions. Okay, to help us have a proper bird's eye view of what's going on and why, two gentlemen from Lagos State government, Dr. FREDERIC OLADEINDE, he's the Lagos State Commissioner for Transportation. Dr. OLADEINDE, good morning, you're welcome.
Thank you.
And right next to him is his colleague, Lagos State Commissioner for Information and Strategy, Mr. Gbenga Omotosho. Good to have you, Mr. Motosho.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Now, Honorable Commissioner, well, I suppose I have to be particular because if I say Honorable Commissioner, two people will say, yeah. So, Honorable Commissioner for Transportation. Now, was I right with those figures? 10,000 accidents, no less, from just the general hospital between 2016 and date?
That's correct. And this excludes other hospitals such as the private and unrecorded cases. So it's far more than that. And it's quite worrisome. And government has to react because safety and security is paramount to this government. And we have to put a stop to that.
And there's so many of them. And in recent times, it seems as if government has started to began to sort of formalize it, if that is the word to use, because you then began to see big companies like OPay. And by the way, the statement did say that including OPay. It does include OPay. Now, one would have thought that those regulated color, operations, by which I mean OPay, I think, is this green. So you see green bikes, you see green helmets, that's one. Some of them are yellow, some of them are another color. So one thought that, okay, is government actually aiding and abetting this whole situation of a two-wheel city where Okada and Keke napeps become the major route of transportation? I don't know. Who wants to take that question?
Let me start, and then my colleague can join. Let's just say, it's very important to understand that you don't build a mega city on two-wheelers and tricycles. It's never been part of our plan. The Strategic Transport Master Plan for Lagos State does not take account of two-wheelers and three-wheelers. And so government has not supported this, and it's not true that...
But you registered them. You registered this...
We haven't registered anybody yet.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
You actually haven't registered. So those mammoth companies, green helmets all over the place, the yellow helmets, those were just private enterprises?
They're private enterprises that are having a dialogue with government, and obviously government has to study the pattern and see how they fit into the current concept of the megacity plan that we have for Lagos State. We've done a lot of study, and we've seen that based on what the pilot that has taken place, what we've seen does not really fit into the master plan. Now, remember that what we're talking about is a restriction. We haven't banned them from the whole of Lagos State. So there are areas where they can operate. However, in the major cities where we have good public transport, we have restricted them from those areas. We've also restricted them from bridges as well as highways because the speed differential, it makes it different, unsafe for people to actually ride Okada in these areas.
Honorable Commissioner for Information, I was a bit surprised when your colleague in transportation said that actually government hadn't registered anybody yet, that they're still studying the matter, because one would have thought they look quite formal, and there's so many of them. So when I'm now hearing that actually they don't fit in with the Lagos state vision for a mega city, so why did you allow them to register in that number? Because that was the way it was going until it looks like government has woken up now and said, no, this is getting out of hand and we're not having it anymore. Was there a time that government wasn't there?
Yeah, government never planned to register them. And like my colleague has said, there was a discussion going on. And this discussion was yet to end by the time, when the government discovered that the problem that these guys claim to have come to solve, they were just becoming part of the problem. Whether they are Go Kada, Come Kada, and all manner of names like that, Okada is Okada. And Okada does not fit into the greater Lagos journey on which we have embarked. And so they had to step down. And that is what is going on now. And like he has said, they are not totally banned on all routes in Lagos. There are still so many, over 6,000 roads in Lagos. There are still so many other places where they can operate. The restriction that we are talking about now is the first stage. But people have been talking about these guys investing millions of money. I hate to say this. There are some of those people who are talking about such investments as blood money because of the way people are dying, because of the way all these Go Kada, Come Kada, pay less, pay come, and all that, the way they are riding. They are also committing some of the offenses that these other guys are committing. And the government has seen that if you allow this license-fee attitude, the whole place will turn into a jungle. And nobody wants that. Nobody. That is why the government has to take this kind of decision.
Dr. OLADEINDE, this, I can understand, this is the first stab at it because it was becoming out of this world. We see the craziness that they seem to be indulging in. They would drive against traffic, and you begin to wonder, at least I did, that wait a minute, do these guys go through any form of testing / approval before being let loose on the unsuspecting public, who are going to think that because they are moving around freely, then government knows about it and by extension approves, and before they could ply and practice their trade, they're in safe hands, which they are not. So there's a sense in which government was letting killers, no matter how inadvertent, killers loose on the highway.
Well, I think that's quite unfortunate. That wasn't the intention. I think what happened was that as investors, some people saw a gap in the network and in the transportation network, and then they wanted to take advantage of it. And obviously, government had to step in with strong policy to ensure that if it's a temporary solution, let's look at it, because we shouldn't throw every idea away. Let's test it. Let's see whether it fits in. And then if it doesn't, then we can just simply discard it. So we looked at it. We allowed it to strive a little bit. But unfortunately, the people that we were trying to get rid of are the same people that the organized Okadas were employing. So there was no difference in their behavior. Now, the question I want to ask is, and I want to ask Legosian right now is, what value do you put to life? What value do you put on a life? And we need to simply understand that over 600 people have been killed. Go to our general
When?
hospital.
Between and when and when?
Between 2018 and now.
Okay.
When we started.
About 600
about
deaths
600.
directly
Yeah, I
related
mean,
to
that's a
Okada
lot.
accidents.
That's 600 too many.
Yeah.
And you go to the general hospitals, you see people that have lost legs, hands, whatever. When it doesn't get to you, you don't understand the pain that it brings to the family of the people who are affected. And it's important that, government shows that safety and security is paramount in everything that we do. We have to put a stop to it.
Yeah.
We have to protect our citizens. We have to protect life. And we have to look for other ways in which we can move people from A to B. And just to add that, government has been doing a lot to ensure that, once we restrict the Okadas and tricycles, there are other means of transport in which people can move around. And let me also say that I remember when I was young, a lot of people are saying, how do we move from one place to another? People don't want to walk anymore. I used to walk. It used to be very healthy. But right now, people are unfit. People don't want to walk. In fact, you want a bus stop in front of your house.
I take that point that you made, and you touched on something that and I'm bringing this question to Benga. The regulated guys, when they approach government and all of that, maybe government didn't think at the time that, look, you guys are going to have thousands of motorcycles requiring thousands of operators. Where are you going to get them from? But in the fullness of time, you saw, and Fred has just explained that they took them from the same pool. So we had illiterate private operators who didn't know anything about highway code, who didn't care anything about safety. They simply came on, perhaps, to the OPay guys. They weren't a specially trained pool, because the Okada people, the Lagosians began to see them as some sort of a strategic aspect to the transportation network, which you say it does not amuse you at all, because you don't want that. You don't think of Okada and tricycles as, this is a commercial city, so that wouldn't work there. But they were supposed at the beginning to deal with short shuttles. And then suddenly we began to see that, look, I can pay you, I'm in Agege here, I want to go to Lekki, can you take me? Hop on. Now, there's something wrong with that, but that began to spread and spread and spread until you have now said you don't want to see any of them on any bridge. That will now say, that probably will, prevent those kind of things. But government itself, I know they've been working on this, but what they've been doing is helmets, enforcing the helmets which people refused to wear for some particular reason. But now government is going to get serious with this, is what we're saying now, that you're really going to get serious with it?
It's not just a question of wearing helmets. Well, the law prescribes that if you want to operate Okada, you have to wear helmets, and then you and your passengers. But so everything.
These operators now, they took that. You see that they are wearing one and they have one. And that's probably because they're a regular kind of a company that government knows about. But the other guys, they didn't have that. And in any case, these OPay guys seem to think that once I have this most visible of enforcements, then I'm good. But they were still not good.
Yeah. And then the rate at which they were growing like mushrooms. And doing the same thing that these other pool of riders were doing. And the government felt that the whole thing was becoming a kind of lunacy that had to be stopped. And that's why they said, either you are go-kada, come-kada, or whatever you are, hold it. Lagos is not going to condone this, because safety of lives is paramount on the agenda of the government. And the government will not watch when limbs are being broken. These figures are so scary.
It's scary.
That government had to move in.
Be that as it is, gentlemen, I hear what you're saying. But why I asked, we're going to really be serious this time, is because this goes back, as you gentlemen know, to administrations before this.
That's correct.
Administrations before this have taken a stab at the problem. Maybe it was too much of a hot potato, I don't know. They let go of it. Now the Sanwo-Olu administration is on board now. That's why I said, is it going to go the way of other efforts? Because, quite frankly, it must have been frustrating to the other guys who said that there are laws, extant laws. Why don't you understand that your baby's life is more important than anything? So you strap your baby behind your back, then you get on top of an Okada, and I remember Governor Fachala was exasperated, well, as he was known then when he was governor of Lagos State. He used to be quite annoyed when we bring this whole matter up and say, this whole thing that you're talking about, why are people putting their own lives in jeopardy when there are laws against it, and you are supposed to help enforce that law by refusing to patronize anybody who is, quite frankly, a potential killer? And here you are with, engaging this person to service you. So I remember back in the day, Governor Fashola, that was his attitude to it. Sorry, what do you want me to do? You have the first responsibility to protect and enhance your own life. You are the most important person in that, and you are the weakest link in all of that.
You see, it's all the arguments that people have made for Okada. They are very fine, beautiful arguments. But then, when you look at the figures, when you look at the premium placed on human life, you don't begin to think of all of that people are going to lose their jobs, how will people move from one point to another. You've
been hearing those arguments, right?
Yes, we've been hearing them.
A lot of them, yeah.
We've been hearing them. But if you look at the figures, like say 2016, 3,052 people had accidents on Okada. Then 2017, 2,849. Then 2018, you have 3,450 people. Then in 2019, at last week alone, 10,000. So what are we talking about? Are we now going to sit down and say, because people must move, because people must do Okada job, as if there are no other jobs?
Do those people give you cause for concern, people who are complaining, Honorable Commissioner for Transportation? Are you really concerned when people bring those arguments about jobs? Because what we're talking about is the actuality. If you didn't catch any of it, how about the 10,000 between 2016 and now? And then you said 600 deaths between 2018 and now. Are people not seeing those? Are they saying that, nevertheless, people still have to eat, even if it is going to cost us every 3-4 years, 10,000 hospital cases, every 2 years? Is that what they're saying? I mean, are you guys actually concerned that people are bringing up those quote-unquote wrong arguments?
Yes, because we know that we are concerned, because we know that they have not sat down to study the matter the way we have done. We have studied it, we have conducted a research into it, and we have seen with our own eyes. The other day I was at the General Hospital on Lagos Island with the governor during the holiday, and one ward that we went into, 5 people were in a coma, all because they fell on Okada. And this thing goes on and on and on like that, and nobody cares about that. Those people have not experienced it before. They just look at it from the superficial level, that people are going to lose their jobs, people can't move from one place to another, and all that. It's just beyond that. We are not even talking about the security implications of allowing free flow of Okada all over the place. The way that we have now, they are coming in droves.
Let's talk about that.
Let
not
me
all over the place. I want you to pick it, if you will, from that place that, look, we're not banning them outright. Exactly. We are restricting them, 20 local governments in Lagos? And you're restricting them to about 14.
No, 14,
the ban is 14, on about six
local governments, 15 LCDAs. But let me just add to what he said. Even though, those are of great concern, the state government has developed a lot of programs where people can get employment. You have the Lagos Employment Trust Fund that is giving out a little bit, some capital for people to set up businesses. You have the Women's Affairs and Poverty Alleviation that is also training people.
So this is talking to those who are.
So this is talking to the people who are. Yeah, exactly. If you're concerned, we have a lot of programs where we can, empower you to set up businesses.
Do you have any programs for? And if you will, you can link your answer to. My pointing out that you can't do this kind of thing in Abuja. Edo government, I understand, has also frowned at it. Kano, Kaduna. Is it that those people that have been quote-unquote demobilized in those places are now finding their way into Lagos, because you get a sea of heads. You see a sea of government confiscates as much as possible. When they infringe, it doesn't make any difference. Do you get the sense that people are funneling into Lagos, where it is being made too hot for it to operate the way it was in Lagos before you guys now said no more?
That's simply what's happening. When you look at the people who are driving Okadas, in fact, some come as far as from Niger, the country called
Niger Republic.
Republic. So we have all kinds of people who come in with no, maybe school start, can't speak English, and then we entrust our life to them, and they come in drones. In the night, there was a time that we went to OLADEINDE, and there were lorries, bringing people and bringing Okada and then just dumping them, and then they simply disappear. I mean, that's of great concern to the
So there's a security, because you also pointed that out in your initial statement, that
exactly.
there's also the concern for the safety from criminals, because they used, allegedly, you said so, as getaway vehicles. I can imagine that. Some Okada operations, you snatch something in traffic, you tie down in traffic, they are able to disappear.
Yeah.
Let's talk a bit about when you restrict these motorcycles and tricycles to where they should be now, 14 instead of the 20 LGAs and the community development areas. When you do that, those who are saying that, well, how about transportation? Yeah, right now there's the bus rapid transit,
That's right.
And
there's a bus reform going on also.
Okay.
So with the bus reform, the Lagos State government is rolling out more buses. Lagos Bus Services Limited has rolled out about 100 buses. They're rolling out another 65 soon. We have over 600 at the port, which the government will get out and then begin to roll out. So we're providing alternative. And next week, the Lagos State government will be launching 14 ferries on our waterways. So we're trying to link the waterways with the bus services, and then very soon other modes of transport like the rail will come on board, and then once we integrate them, and that's the model that we have for Lagos State. We're trying to develop a smart city. Our smart city does not incorporate two-wheelers and three-wheelers. So we're doing it gradually, we're ramping it up. We have started a lot of programs, so people would not be, they will not be disadvantaged by what we've done so far. So.
Now, Winger, when we're talking about two-wheelers and three-wheelers in Lagos, especially the two-wheelers, there are other cities around the world where there are these bike messengers. I just wanted to find out, how about those people who actually, in their own mode of transportation, their own private transportation, instead of a car, they prefer a motorcycle? How is it going to work with those kind of guys? I'm not talking about, but I'm also including, I'm not talking exclusively about those who take it as a sport, the so-called power bikes and that kind of a thing. But even if you can't afford a power bike, but you can't afford a car either, and so you can't afford a motorcycle, and it's not commercial, it's for you and maybe a friend, that's why there are two, you can ride pillion or you can be a operator. How does it affect private two-wheelers, private motorcyclists?
The law is very clear. If you are riding a motorcycle, these are the things you are supposed to do, whether you are commercial or not. When I go overseas, I see people when they ride bicycles, they wear helmets. In Lagos, for God's sake, people ride Okada and they don't wear helmets at all. Whether it is private or personal.
I'm trying to distinguish Okada from a motorcyclist.
Okay. Motorcycle, if you are riding a motorcycle as a private individual, you should obey the law. You should wear helmet.
Those ones generally do. The power bike guys and those private guys.
Of course, power bike guys are not affected by all that we are saying, because
that's
they
what
take
I'm
all
trying to
precautions.
get at.
The power bike, just to add to what he just said, your bike has to be 200cc and above, and you can't carry a passenger. So if it's a private, if it
happens to be your private mode of transportation,
it's got to be a certain spec.
It must be before it can do what? Because
before you can ride it, you've got to register it.
does it, let me clarify this so that if you needed to go over the bridge, for instance, but you're not a commercial operator, you are a motorcyclist. If you want, let's say, power bike, but I don't really mean power bike, those 750cc, 800cc. You've just said the minimum is 200cc, and I understand that. So I'm saying, are those guys exempt from some of all these restrictions? So that if a guy lives in Agege, for instance, or Ikorodu, for instance, and works in Lagos, and his mode of transportation is his own private motorcycle, is he exempt? Because assuming that he does everything else, he has a driving license, he's licensed, he has helmet, and you've just told me that, and he's not allowed a passenger.
Yeah, no. So I mean, the law, I mean, as long as you follow those rules, you're allowed to.
Those ones are not affected.
They're not affected
by this.
at all. So that's a private, that's privately
private,
owned.
Okay, because I was just trying to wonder, I was just trying to imagine in Lagos, would we have a situation where no bike, no motorcycle, komi to komi will be seen on the bridge? So I'm understanding that, no, it's not really like that. That some might, if they follow, but no commercial operation, no transport, no public transportation purpose. Am I getting that right?
No, you're getting it right, And let me also add to the fact that, so for example, if you're a courier, for example, so you must have this box at the back, and then your bike has to be 200cc and above, and then you must have registered, you must have the helmet, plus the other.
Those ones are exempt from all of these restrictions.
Yeah, we can't stop you from doing your business.
Okay, and in any case, that little box that they always have, that won't allow you a passenger. But the other thing, and I just wanted to stay here for a while, I know that's not your main focus, but since motorcycles have a pillion, so you can ride pillion, that is, you can have a passenger. That's the way they are designed. Not all of them. Some of the big ones, you see that they don't even make allowance for that. And when people still try it, they're too high because they're just managing with. But are you saying that if you're 200cc, it's a private, minimum of 200cc, it's private, you can't give your body a lift?
Well, because we have to differentiate whether you're actually carrying a passenger or not. I think based on what we have said, so you can't.
Okay, because that will become a gray area.
It becomes a gray,
and
the law has to
my
be
friend.
clear.
Whereas,
exactly.
So
people will take that loophole.
Because Lagos will always try to look for a loophole around
That's correct. Yeah. So you can't carry.
So the businesses that do employ motorcycles, TVC, for instance, also has its own those messenger services where they have. So all those businesses that depend on motorcycles, they are in order. The culprit are the Okadas, the commercial operators, who, when they get a chance, will even take more than one person as a passenger.
That's correct.
Apart from the actual operator of the machine.
Sure.
Whether or not those people, let's go back to, now that they're being restricted to where the things have been, there's official sort of, what is the word now? Approval for them. We still have the problem of, are they competent? Are they safe? They carry the life of Lagosians or any other passenger on their back, at their back. Is government doing anything to make sure that these people they become expert riders? Because the standard as a professional is going to be higher than that of it should be higher than that of an amateur. So
yeah, exactly.
Is that a concern? Is that a concern?
It's a concern, and that's one of the reasons why this action is being taken. If people who don't know anything about motorcycling just get onto motorcycles and begin to carry passengers, and then they put the lives of Lagosians at risk, the government has to do something about that, and that is why we are doing this. And because Okada and the rest of them, they are not part of the greater Lagos journey that we have embarked on, the government is not considering an upgrade for them. People have suggested that you should say that anybody who wants to ride commercial motorcycle in Lagos should have a school cert, should be able to read and write.
That's not the point.
I mean, it's not. There's no point.
You might be a professor and be a lousy motorcyclist.
You can't even ask people to go to driving school because they want to ride Okada. Okada is not part of the journey, And we have to face it. Lagosians have to face it that without any pain, there cannot be any gain.
All right. I got to go on a quick break now, but we'll be back because I want to still pursue that point about now that they've been restricted, will they be safer than they were when they were running free, or it's just the same old, but now restricted to less visible areas? Keep your gunpowder dry. Let me go on this quick break and then I'll be right back. Stay with us, please. Welcome back, and thank you for joining us. If you've just arrived, but you've missed a bit, if you've just arrived, because the two commissioners before me, that of transportation and information and strategy, FREDERIC OLADEINDE and Gbenga Motosho, respectively, they've been telling us about the restriction that will take force on the 1st of February, which is just Saturday here. And just before we went, I wanted to find out from the Commissioner for Transportation, Dr. OLADEINDE, will there be an improved standard of performance or skill? Because right now there is very little, if any, skill so the hazards on the road. If you simply take them away from highly visible areas and now shunt them over to places like Abule Egba, I respect Abule Egba guys, I'm not saying that you people are backward, but you take them to those places, you're just taking those quote-unquote killers, potential killers, from one place to the other if the standard of performance has not been appreciably increased. In other words, if government hasn't really decided to do something about that.
Let's remember that this is the first stage of the restriction. Secondly, before you can ride a bike or tricycle in Lagos, you must have what we call the rider's card. So to qualify for that rider's card,
is that the same as a driving
it's
license?
Like yeah, for us to identify you, because you cannot ride in Lagos and the government will not know you. We have to know the riders.
But does it approximate a driving license for a car driver, or is it a different thing?
It's just for identification.
Or just for identification.
Identification.
But
We
the
must
other
not.
matter about passing a test, knowing the traffic laws and regulations, and an vigilator or a tester testing you and saying that you are fit to be on the roads.
But before you can get that rider's card, you must go through a series of tests. It's like, it's like a driver's license, but it's not a license for Okada business, etc.
Okay.
It's just to ensure that, okay, you're doing this business, you're carrying people.
Okay.
We have to be sure that you know what you're doing.
Okay, that's for commercial
That's for
2 and 3 wheelers.
That's correct.
But not necessarily so for private, the guy whose private mode of transportation is his
No, even
bike.
the private mode must have a rider's card.
I see. Must have a rider's card.
Yeah, you must have a rider's card.
Apart from a driving license.
Yeah, exactly. You must have a rider's card. So we must understand those who own bike, and we must have a database of people that drive bikes in Lagos.
Okay.
So it's a means of identifying you. It's a means of tracking you down if you commit any crimes, and it's to ensure that the people who are actually driving two-wheelers are actually people with...
Are these cards fed into something of a database because you're talking about tracking?
No, we have a database of people. Yeah, but...
So technically, theoretically, Lagos State has a database of all those Okada and Marwa operators.
Now, let me go a little bit further. This is where the problem is now. Because of what is happening, technically speaking, we must have. But what is happening right now is that every night you see a trailer loads of people coming into Lagos with Okada and then they disappear. No registration at all.
I see.
And that's
trailer
where
loads of motorcycles,
maybe
they
offload
them, and then they disappear, and the motorcycles disappear into
so
Lagos.
we don't have
That's
a record
a security risk right
It
there.
is a security risk. So we don't have...
And nobody's asking them questions. They're able to do that.
Precisely. So, you could be on an Okada and then we don't even know the person driving you. And when there's an accident, who do we hold accountable?
Winga, did you want to add to this?
And some Lagosians are saying that is fine. Or because you want to move from one place to another. The government is seeing the bigger picture, a very large picture, a kind of canvas of unpleasant things that may happen if you allow this laissez-faire attitude that anybody can come into Lagos in droves, bring in Okada, and then disappear into thin air. And you see them at night carrying passengers, you see them carrying people all over the place during the day. They can't read road signs. They can't speak any Nigerian language. They can't speak outside. They can't speak Igbo. They can't speak Yoruba. All they understand is Oya, Aboki, and all that. They don't these are not even, most of them are not even Nigerians. And yet people are saying it is all right to leave them because there is no alternative, because we have to move from one point to another. The government is seeing a very large picture, and the vision of the government is that it has gone far, that this thing could blow up into another thing. You have to be able to account to, people are free to move into Lagos and go out as they like. There are no restrictions, but then we have to watch our environment. We have to look at it from the security point of view. We have to look at it that the safety of lives and property of Lagosians is paramount to the government.
So this is primarily for the safety of the life of Lagosians, but there's also the other point that you two gentlemen have mentioned,
Security.
which is that it doesn't fit into the vision of a metro city. Reverend Dominic has come on the line from ALIMOSHO. Good morning, Reverend.
Good morning, Yori. How are you today?
Very well, thank you.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Chief Yori, the blames are too many to go around. Let me go first. As Honorable Commissioner, by 2012 or 13, as my memory serves me right, there was act of state assembly here to restrict or to bind this Okada. It was effective at least for the fourth year. Who make that law? That's the first question. Number two, Yori, where I live here at ALIMOSHO, the commissioners may know it, at Lafi Gondo Dub site. If you come here, you will saw these guys, about 100 or 200, with their bags in that around that dustbin. They have no house. They sleep there. Wake up in the morning, begin to convey people. It's a big security risk. That's number two. Number three, where is our immigration services? How will a man from Chad, Niger Republic, from wherever comes in here, sleep on the street, use bike, and use it officially, and go back to the dustbin and lie down.
And who is the
Where
sponsor? Where did he get the bike from? Who is the sponsor?
Yes, this question we ask ourselves. The question is this to go around. As long as we continue this way, the security we've been talking about will multiply. Let the government. Can I hear you, sir?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, what I'm trying to say is this. There's no nation on earth that allows what happens in Lagos. In Imo State, I saw last December, there was calm at your wedding because there was no tricycle, there's no bike. You can see the peace of the city and you can manage your security by yourself. Because nobody is running around you left, right, and center. We will not bind Okada in Lagos if you want its capacity. So we can be proud of Lagos, which is only in Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Reverend Dominic. He's complaining that what has happened in Lagos and is happening now, hopefully will stop by Saturday, cannot be done anywhere else. So there's a sense in which, does Lagos take part of the blame that we let it get a bit out of hand, but now we've woken up and no more?
Yeah, we were saying the other time when we first addressed this matter that we were making consultations.
Okay.
Because the Babajide Sanwo-Olu administration is a product of democracy. It's an all-inclusive government. It's attentive to what people are saying. So we made representations to unionists, to even the motorcycle riders themselves, market leaders, politicians, ordinary Lagosians, transport union people, everybody.
Well, you see, this is part of the challenge from my point of view, and I'm bringing this directly back to Frederick. Reverend Dominic was sparking there. He was annoyed that we had some sort of a regulation and then gently, everybody forgot about it. And let me just add that it depends on how close, and this is unfortunate, it depends on how close to an election cycle we are. That will show how seriously a matter will be taken.
That's cool.
I remember when Lagos State reminded us that there was a law against street trading. We're not formulating it now. It's there. We're going to enforce it. There was an outcry, and just everybody forgot about it, so to speak. And you go on the streets, you must have seen them as you were coming here. Street trading everybody's just having a party. Now, people link this to, well, let's be careful. You know, does government sometimes worry that it might affect them negatively in elections if they do the right thing and say no to Okada, no to street trading? Are those guys really that many that will affect the fortunes of any candidate in an election?
Well, first of all, they're not that many, and these people don't vote. So I don't know what we're too worried about. I mean, we're worried about them.
I see Benga nodding here. That means you agree with those
I mean,
facts.
look at the population of Lagos.
And then how many are they?
Yeah, Lagos is about 24 million people, and we are still counting. But when we go to the polls, you find out that the whole total number of votes cast, you can get up to 5 million. And in that case, it is pure blackmail for people to say that government should not take some hard decisions, hard in quote,
Okay.
because...
I beg your pardon. Honorable Segun Olulade has called in. Former Lagos State House of Assembly is calling in from Ekpe. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Apoyori.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, the essence of having government, first of all, is for us to protect lives and property and the welfare of the people. This law, I will say that is even partially being enforced as what we are seeing today. Because there was a law, there's a law in Lagos State that restricted the operation of Okada. I've heard series of things. I was chairman committee on information when this law was passed. And I recall that we went to hospitals. We went and we received reports of insecurity in the state as it were then. Because it is only those who are affected, those whose children were kidnapped, those whose hands were cut off, those whose legs were cut off, those who are victims that can accurately and adequately assess and respond to what is going on today. Yeah. We must not introduce sentiment in some of those things that we do in this country.
But
In other
those
states,
sentiments
in
have been
Abuja,
there in the past. Apparently, when a thing like this comes up, people begin to move, mobilize, try to look for high-powered authorities to intercede on their behalf. But
with Okuyori, we must ensure that the rule of law prevails in this country. Once there is a law, we must enforce that law. That is where we can know that we have a sane government and we have the same people in the country.
okay,
So we cannot just continue to introduce sentiments. We must always observe that uphold the rule of law
Okay.
in the land.
okay,
The rule of law is clear about this matter. So anybody introducing sentiments that some people will lose their job or some people will have to go back to their state or whatever. In those states that we don't have Okada, they live. When we travel out of the country, we walk, we do 10 kilometer, 5 kilometer walk to join buses, to join trains, to join whatsoever. But it's only in this country. Everybody wants to be lazy.
okay.
I think it is time that we also understand it will help our health.
Yeah.
It will bring sanity into the land. Security of life and property will be maintained and sustained. And we will also have enough jobs that people have abandoned. Those who are in doing weather, those who are barbers, those who are into artisan jobs
Yeah.
that have abandoned it to start riding Okada.
Yes.
We'll go back.
Okay.
We can do a lot in this country and change the narrative.
Thank you very much, Honorable Olade. Thank you very much for calling in. And that goes back to that. It probably reminded you of what the gentlemen have told us about Lagos State government employment,
the employment
initiatives that are going on. Also,
exactly.
the whole matter of the transportation alternatives.
Yeah.
We want people to get around, but I think what Lagos State is saying is that we are a mega city in the making, and there are things that just don't work. People will say locally, don't work. You know, when you're thinking of a Lagos of a metro city, it might rustle some people for the moment because Honorable Ololade was pointing out there are carpenters, welders, you know, all those people who think it's not lucrative enough, and so just jump onto Okada. And because they're not experts, which brings me back to the point that I hope that now that they're being restricted to certain areas, the expertise is still important. You can't just not kill people on the Ikoru Road, but now shift your killing to other areas, you know, in the hinterland. But certainly no bridges, and I think you've clarified the whole matter about
Highways.
private, you know, private mode of transportation, and you're not allowed a passenger. That's just the way it's going to have to be because it becomes a gray area. If you're not, if it's a private vehicle, is your friend? I don't know. You know, I understand that till we get sanity. So Lagos State seems to have the resolve now that the 1st of February we will commence operations on this, and we'll see how it goes. And Olulade was just saying, no sentiment. No, don't run around. Don't go and look for somebody to intercede on your behalf. Mazi Okoroafo, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, our guests in the studio. Good morning, gentlemen in the studio.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Honestly, sir, you see, the decision that the government took in Lagos State is a welcome to go. I think it seems also for other state governors to copy the same. Where am I saying? Do you know that this Okada...
Some states have even done it before Lagos. I was telling you that they say Kano has done it, they say Kaduna has done it, they say Edo has done it.
Fine, but at least 80% should do that. This Okada and cycling, whether Okada or Keke na Pepe, anything we call it, the cycling or cycling. Do you know what is happening now? These Keke people will arrange with Okada people.
The tricycles.
They will shot. Yes, they will arrange with them. They will know that somebody side it, maybe he has a laptop or he has a good phone. The Okada people, as Keke man is moving, Okada man will just come closer to Keke. In short, this incident happened between last week and also 5 cases. Keke was going, Okada will come now and snatch people's bag, and snatch people's telephone, phone.
And zoom off.
And that is, they like this one is not a knife, which is so common. So the area the government does that all the state issues, because you will see a young boy with somebody that you don't contribute. You know, people are so used to playing games inside the Keke during the last that at least they have relaxation in terms of going on that transit. But at the end of the day, somebody from nowhere, it happens to it happens to John, when they will complain this thing, I say, I don't understand what's happening. So somebody cannot enter Keke and relax. And you'll be afraid of Okada when Okada come by. And the way the Okada people overtake is so terrible. So any decision the government are taking, they should take it drastically and make sure they keep it up.
Okay.
And they find another alternative for such means of transportation for people who will be moving within that area.
Sure.
It will help us. But the situation whereby we allow all these misgrants to create more problem for people who are just using all these means of transportation because it's very cheap. It's not acceptable.
Yeah.
Because all these boys, I don't know their problem. They are quick to make money. They are quick to create more problem for people. The way they carry laptop and it's very, very alarming.
Yeah.
Honestly, the Lagos and other sectors, they should implement it 100% and make it effective. I'll get the that to monitor it. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day in Lagos.
Indeed. Thank you very much for calling in, Mazi Okora for in Imo State. We've been concentrating on the two-wheelers, the Okadas, but the napeps, Keke napeps that he was talking about, the three-wheelers, those are also crazy. I mean, what they do, you can see them weaving in and out of traffic. It just buggers the mind that they do what they do. You might think that, okay, they don't have the balance issue to contend with, which oftentimes does Okadas in. But even at that, they create extra lanes. They're driving on both sides of you. You're driving, they're on your left, they're on your right. They face you. You have to, give them right of way because you're thinking of lives, because most drivers are reasonable. And, so there's a sense in which, quite frankly, both of them are of the same cloth. And that government is taking it this way. Well, most scholars are saying, right on. Don't soften. Don't, the man said 100%. Go ahead and implement it 100%. But I don't know, another thing that could be helpful, I know that's not why you're here. What happened to because it affects transportation, street trading. The street trading law is there. And they cause traffic jams as well.
Yeah.
So I know that that's not why you came here. But would you agree that not enforcing the street trading law, just as you were not enforcing the commonsensical law with all these 2- and 3-wheelers, that somehow they go hand in hand and needs to be addressed?
Well, I mean, I'm glad that you asked that question. About 3 months ago, the Sanwo-Olu administration developed, I think we developed about 12 task force group. And this consists of LASMA, it consists of the Environmental Safety Corps, it consists of neighborhoods. So all of them have come together to enforce not just the traffic law, but the environmental law in certain gridlock areas, so like Oyingbo, Yaba, etc. So it's not just about going in there to tackle traffic, it's to tackle everything that impedes on traffic. So street trading, downfall that are picking people on the road are not at designated.
All those things.
So all those have been put in place.
One moment, please. I'll take the button. Ambrose in Minna, Niger State. Good morning, Mr. Ambrose.
Good morning, Uncle Yori, and good morning,
sir.
to your guest in the studio.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for calling in.
Yes, I support the idea of the restriction for Okada in certain areas of Lagos. I support it. The reason.
Sorry, Mr. Ambrose, all the way from Minna. Maybe the network will let you connect again. See if you can get back in. So you were making the point that you already have an eye on
we have a
anything that
force,
can impede the free flow of
yes.
traffic. It has to be holistic.
It has to be, yeah.
Not just.
And about 2 weeks ago, the government, gave some equipment to these group of people, cars, as well as motorcycles, to go around to ensure that they can enforce these rules.
Because monitoring and enforcement
is very key to what we're doing.
Because
and so the enforcement has to be top notch. And with the security group meeting that the governors had, we have 100% backing from all the enforcement agency to ensure that we enforce the traffic law.
Charles in EGBEDA, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, please, I want to make contribution based on these Lagos Okada tricycle restrictions.
Yes.
Before restricting such individuals, there should be provisions. Look at EGBEDA Road, for instance. We have bad roads. We have roads that vehicles cannot even apply. We have so many instances in every area. Then, when you look at job, for instance, all these Okadas you're trying to stop from doing their daily businesses, these are men that are graduates that don't have jobs here and there. Before such things should be put in place.
Charles, I beg your pardon for interrupting you. There will be a few graduates in there, but I don't think it's accurate to say that the swarm of Okada drivers are graduates. Charles? I'm so sorry. I hope I didn't cause that, but I just had to come in there because when you made the point that we're going to put graduates out of work, first of all, that's not why they went to university. But I didn't. You could have made the point. I just wanted to point out that it might be misleading to say that all the motorcycle problem that we have is as a result of graduate Okada drivers who don't have alternative employment. So I'm so sorry, but when you made the point that these Okada drivers that we're trying to restrict are graduates, I just had to step in there. I hope you can understand. But, gentlemen, we've run out of time, and I want to thank you for coming along, taking time from your busy schedule. I don't know if it's advocacy to come and explain it to us for those who still need an explanation. But most people, you could see, if anybody had the opportunity, they say, I support it 100%. But that is not to say that Mr. Charles that called in just now, he also wanted to have his say. But I think he was making the point that you have also addressed that, look, if you're thinking about jobs, there are alternatives.
Yeah.
Might not be exactly the way Okada was, where I think it was because of how lucrative it was thought to be.
Exactly.
People who had trades were abandoning their trades to hop on an Okada and doing too much damage as a result. But thank you very much, Mr. Gbenga Motosho and Dr. Frederic OLADEINDE. Mr. Motosho is information and strategy, and Dr. OLADEINDE is transportation. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming. I wish you all the best. So Saturday, the 1st, you expect normalcy to commence.
Sure.
Yes.
That's our program. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I'm Yori Folarin. Bye-bye for now.